We've assembled here this morning to bring awareness to an epidemic that plagues our neighborhoods, our schools, and our community. As I was driving over this morning, I thought how fitting to have an event such as this with a clock tower in the backdrop. Because all of us that are here today represent a fast-growing population of citizens that are screaming, it is time for change. 1 year ago today, 32 innocent students and their families had their lives altered in a dramatic way as a result of choices made by only one student who lacked compassion and purpose. And as I prepared for this presentation this morning, I was saddened to discover that our country has experienced an additional 32 school shootings since the date of the fatal shootings at Virginia Tech. The effects of violence is proliferating into the lives of our youth at an alarming rate, and it is now the primary cause of 48 children and teens being shot per day in a country that is considered the only superpower in the world. Violent acts are no longer isolated to the battlefields. How can we expect to control and reduce violence in Iraq and Afghanistan when it runs rampant right here in East Winston? Young people used to fear becoming a victim of an assault at the local neighborhood bar and the local nightclub, but now they carry that same fear to their libraries and classrooms. Every year, more than 100,000 people in America are victims of violent crimes, and every day, 84 people die from gun violence. It's time for change. One may suggest that we add more police to patrol our streets, and we build larger prisons to hold the deviant members of our society, and of course we can always draft more legislation to control the lives of our citizens in an effort to provide them with security. But every year, our taxpayers foot the bill to operate prisons that release men and women who have not made a fundamental change in their internal behavior. Every year, our city council adds more to the budget for additional police protection. But last night, a woman was still a victim of a violent domestic disturbance. Our legislators spend countless hours drafting bills to control the decisions of their constituents in the name of government protection. But every day, our youth are still killing one another. It's time for change. The path to a community that chooses not to practice violent acts is one that is long and hard and requires all of us to be willing to sacrifice ourselves to inspire others to make positive changes. Laws traditionally have only kept good and honest people good and honest. Like many others, I expressed concern about this young man being able to acquire the necessary firearms to kill and fatally injure 32 of his fellow students. But a deeper question is what and why did this young man want to commit such a violent act on another human life? His behaviors and actions reveal a lot about his self-perception, lack of purpose, and no true understanding of the value of life. Our country represents prosperity and strength, but we still have many of us in the fundamental need of understanding a purpose in their life. Their inability to have a positive vision for their life leads to choices that further creates this negative life they live. This small population of our fellow brothers and sisters represent what is broken in our society. Their lack of purpose and continued selection of bad choices negatively impact the lives of all Americans. Those in charge of protecting us routinely lock up this segment of the community in hope to provide the rest of us with a sense of security. The rest of us, we all commit an injustice through our refusal to truly connect with these offenders and help them to realize their purpose in life, unleash their minds to dream, and fundamentally recognize the value and the fruits of sacrifice. All of us in attendance this morning are gifted, and we have been called to this place at this time to fulfill our purpose. The fact I stand before you today as a speaker is not because I am special or the result of luck and coincidence. I was raised right here in East Winston, North Carolina, and despite my ability to articulate words, the journey to this very platform has been one of long, hard, suffering sacrifice. As a young child, I recall the early winter months when my grandfather used to wake up and heat my bath water on the stove. Next door, our neighbor ran a crack house, and I recall my 10-year-old eyes peeking through the window on the day he was busted by the police as they surrounded our houses with guns drawn. 100 feet from the house I grew up in, there was prostitutes on the corner by night, wino and crack by the day. I was the witness of countless beatings, shootings, and stabbings right in my own neighborhood. My mother gave birth to me when she was 17 and still in high school. And as I grew up, I was not able to go any camping trips with dear old Dad because I never met him. I was able to see my dad only once when they published his photo in the local paper because they had released him from jail by mistake. I grew up with a stepfather who resented me because I was not his own, and his resentment resulted in explosions of anger and aggression. My childhood years were filled with countless nights that erupted into acts of domestic violence. As I lay in my bedroom feeling helpless, I came to realize the power of the mind during those sleepless nights. I empowered myself through my ability to dream and envision a future that was much different than my current reality. I want all of our young leaders that are present here today, I want you to remember an old axiom that says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning.